I'm Ryan O'Dowd, and you're listening to Ryan's Audiobooks on the Issues Magazine YouTube channel. Today I continue with section 629, Prometheus Rising by Robert Anton Wilson. We're picking up near the end, at the afterword, by Richard Raza. Apprehending Bob non-simultaneously. If you're a fan of Robert Anton Wilson, you probably have a favorite or two from his some 35 published books. When I asked writer and raw aficionado John Higgs, what's your favorite raw book? He replied, oh man, favorite raw book? That's a shifting target. Although it's clearly Cosmic Trigger, but occasionally Prometheus Rising, when it's not being Cosmic Trigger, which it always is, unless it's quantum psychology. This may sound like prevarication to someone unfamiliar with maybe logic, model agnosticism, or guerrilla ontology. But John's shifting target dilemma sounds amusingly familiar to anyone who has read Cosmic Trigger, Prometheus Rising, and quantum psychology. This dilemma sits at the core of raw speculations on the shifting nature of our reality tunnels. An example. One day in 1994, I visited Rob and told him a story about the previous weekend I had spent with an old friend, Howard, and the new love of his life who was a professional trance channeler. This was a surprise to me, not because I met a charming, intelligent woman who would sometimes speak with the voice and personality of a being from another dimension. I've spent a lot of time in California. But a surprise because Howard was well known for his skepticism and had a cultured disbelief in anything remotely otherworldly. Yet here he was with an extreme challenge to his normal perception of the universe and literally embracing it. He discovered his new lover's talent while making love for the first time. In mid-coitus, there was suddenly a third party. Howard had always been a keen observer of human behavior and had traveled widely in Asia, encountering his share of mystics and swindlers. He even played the role in a Bollywood movie of a Westerner who went native and became an Indian sadhu, an itinerant holy man. He understood acting, and he often seemed to be a step ahead of those around him, but during that weekend, in a moment when we were alone, he described his experiences with an uncharacteristic touch of wonder in his words. I asked him, so what do you make of it all? He heard my question, but also read my face. He knew I was asking if skeptical Howard thought there really was a being from another dimension. He said, I don't know, but it's a hell of a show. When I told Bob this story, he laughed at the humor in the situation and wondered if Howard had jumped over his shadow or had seen depth in a puddle. We talked for a while about trance channeling, often diverting to loony speculations, and in the end came to the conclusion that without better evidence, any given trance channeler could be delusional, a con artist, a performance artist, unaware of having a left brain, right brain conversation, or actually transmitting an energy source from another dimension in space-time. Bob told me that when he reflected on a percentage of likelihood based on hearsay, other dimensional or not, he speculated sadly that a high percentage of trance channelers seemed likely to be in one of the first two categories, delusional or a con artist, or a combination of the two. We both nodded and sat thinking about that for a time. Maybe we were both thinking about the unknowns of the last category, an actual transmission. I was. Bob leaned towards the table, wincing slightly with leg pain, a symptom of his post-polio syndrome. He sipped a bit of Jameson's Irish whiskey and took a puff on a joint of tobacco and cannabis. He blew out the smoke slowly and then leaned over to hand the joint to me. As our hands met, he looked at me with a serious expression and said, "Don't channel me." I think it was a creepy, funny moment for both of us. It didn't matter that we were both giggling before and after that exchange. Bob couldn't resist altering the temporary reality tunnel we had built within our conversation. But perhaps it wasn't only Bob playing with the possibilities. Maybe he was hedging his bet just in case. I think the last thing he wanted was yet another editor filtering his words after receiving a transmission from him, especially if the transmission is coming from another dimension where he probably has better things to do. But I really have no idea what Bob believed about the strange phenomena we often discuss, because Bob really didn't have beliefs. As he noted in his 1986 preface to Cosmic Trigger, I do not believe anything. He was explaining his model agnosticism, quoting Alfred Korzybski, the map is not the territory, and Alan Watts, the menu is not the meal. Instead of beliefs, he pondered the nature of numerous maps of reality and made speculations, often using humor as a reminder that, as he said, if you think you know what the hell's going on, you're probably full of shit. With that advice in mind, I decided to ask what the hell was going on with a curious anomaly in Prometheus Rising that I found puzzling. I had suspicions, but I never asked Bob what about it, and so I certainly knew that I didn't know what the hell was going on. Fortunately, I had the help of Robert Anton Wilson Trust Advisors, a group of Bob's friends and other intelligence agents who love to chew on curious anomalies. They know the menu is not the meal, but they are willing to take a bite anyway. My question was simply, I'm wondering what anyone guesses, knows, or can find out about why Bob switched Tim's circuits 6 and 7. In Timothy Leary's Order of the Eight Circuits in his 1977 Exopsychology, he calls Circuit 6 neuroelectric and Circuit 7 neurogenetic. In Cosmic Trigger 1, also 1977, Bob uses the same names in the same order. However, in Prometheus Rising, 1983, Bob reverses the order of Circuit 6 and 7. Circuit 6 becomes the neurogenetic circuit, and Circuit 7, previously neuroelectric, is renamed the metaprogramming circuit. To add another layer of uncertainty, in 1990, Bob published Quantum Psychology, where his description of the 8 circuits returned to Tim's original order. He renames the neurogenetic circuit after Rupert Sheldrake's concept of a morphogenetic field to the morphogenetic system, but the descriptions of Circuit 6 expanding definition of self. Circuit 5 frees the body, opens the senses, and the self feels connected to all of nature. The Circuit 6 neurogenetic evolutionary visionary connects the individual self to all other selves past, present, and future. The Circuit 7 metaprogrammer realizes that all selves are illusory, and in Circuit 8 the metaprogrammer becomes an illusion, merging into the infinity of quantum connectedness. Maybe. Bob must have had some reason for shifting Circuits 6 and 7. Thus concludes Section 629, The Afterword of Prometheus Rising by Robert Anton Wilson. Tomorrow we will continue with the afterword in Section 630, where we will finish the book. I will see you then. Olam.